Welcome to LifeBlood. This is George G, and the time is right. Welcome to today's guest, strong and powerful, Kate Westad. Kate, are you ready to do this?
I am so ready. Thank you so much for having me.
Oh, excited to have you on. Kate is the inventor and founder of Palette by Pack. She is the inventor of the world's first beauty reusable. She's been named to Forbes Next 1000. So excited to have you on. Kate, tell us a little bit about your personal life, some more about your work, and why you do what you do.
Well, that's a lot of questions.
It
so
is.
I will make my way through it. So I would say first and foremost, I think of myself as a mom. I have 4 kids and I'm an only parent of 4. And so that's a lot right there. And then I am a 17-year veteran litigation attorney. I practiced for many, many years as a trial attorney and really enjoyed doing that. I really loved my clients, was some of the sweetest, most kind people I've ever met in my whole life. And I was so grateful that I could be the person to help them. And, I'm not 20 years old. I'm a little later on in my lifetime. I'm in my mid 40s. And as I was, along this journey of working as a lawyer and having a national law practice and litigating cases, I decided that I was going to invent things. So I quit my job as a lawyer to make cool things.
Amazing. So is it true that if you want something done, give it to a busy person, Kate?
Give it to a mom? Maybe even a single mom. Yeah. I mean, I would say, if you are already doing a lot, you can just cut out some TV time and, you can just launch a startup, no problem.
Sure. So you spent 17 years as a litigator, which I don't know much about that. I believe that it's pretty stressful and it's probably a lot of long hours. Was it that you were getting a little burned out on that? Or was it, I really have this entrepreneurial itch, I really want to make something?
So you're absolutely right that some of the most intense, smart, amazing, capable people are lawyers. And I know so many of them. And it never ceases to amaze me the amount of talent that's in law firms and in the practice of law. And I think that being an attorney is very fertile ground for becoming an entrepreneur. But at the same time, I actually went through a really challenging life situation where the father of my children passed away. And I have always had these hopes and dreams, ideas. I had product ideas, movie scripts, app ideas. And it just became where it was sort of like this box of dreams that I sort of had packaged away and had taped up and thought, maybe that's for another life or another time. And I wasn't sure I was ever going to open it. And so for me, it's the realization that life is super short and that we're here for a very finite period of time on earth. And that I really, really, really wanted to do other things as much as I loved practicing law.
Yeah. I appreciate that. And so sorry to hear about the death of your husband and the father of your kids.
Yeah, I mean, if anything's going to shake you up, just throw some really terrible life circumstance at, that was, around 7 years ago now, and not that it ever becomes any less painful. It does wake you up and it can put you on a totally different trajectory in life. And that's really what I experienced.
A box of dreams. I literally got goosebumps when you were talking and saying that. I think that, well, I bet a lot of us have that box of dreams and we do the same thing that you were describing. Well, maybe it's just going to sit there forever. Maybe it's for the next lifetime. And this happens and you make it happen. You open up the box. Tell me about that. Did you just like shake it out and like, okay, not this one, maybe this one. And here we are. You've launched this incredible product, which is helping so many women, and it's helping the earth. It's having this huge impact. How did you get from the box of dreams and ideas down to this?
So I'll try to keep my little story short because it's kind of a long path.
Yeah.
As you can imagine, it doesn't just like happen overnight. You just like wake up. But there was this really pinnacle moment where I was actually headed to the south of France in Paris with one of my law school BFFs. And she rings me up and she's, I'm thinking she's going to talk about like the hotels we booked, like, what are we going to, talk more about the plans. And she actually cancels on me.
Oh.
And I was like, oh hell no, I'm still going on this trip.
Right.
I'm going by myself. And with 4 kids and had a very busy practicing litigation attorney, I had not had time to do solo traveling. And so it was one of those things where you're just thrown into the situation. And I was like, being spontaneous and adventurous, I'm like, oh hell no, I'm still going. And as I was late night packing, and mind you, I had been kind of keeping lists and notes of these ideas that I've been having. And it's not like this was the first time I had thought about other ideas or inventions or movie scripts or books or apps. I mean, it's not the first time, but in this moment, I thought of the high fiver and I could see it so clearly. I could see the colors, I could see the design, I could just see it like poof, like, like this little bubble over your head. And like, there it was. And so it was just such an amazing moment. And then as I was on my trip, on my solo adventure in France, I spent a lot of time with myself, obviously.
Yeah.
Getting really quiet and spending a lot of time in nature, being outside on the beaches and the ocean, or just being in the city in Paris. And you just have these moments where you're just getting really quiet, and you really don't have a lot of opportunity for that if you're a parent or you're busy life and you're working. And so it was just this really amazing period of time. And I had 3 ideas. So it was a book, an app, and it was the high fiver. So the original high fiver I just couldn't shake it. Like I just became obsessed with it. And that's the thing that I would say to anyone. It's like, if you just feel so obsessed with it, like you can't stop thinking of it. And then it just keeps kind of unraveling, and like, you can see the path so clearly. Like, it's almost like you don't have a choice. Like you have to make it. It's a compulsion.
Mm-hmm.
And it's so then of course that idea went out, and I had some money saved, and I wanted to do something else. So it started as a side hustle, while I was working full time, as a lawyer and as a single mom.
I think that's incredible. And do you look back and thank your friend for bailing on you because you had the opportunity to be so introspective and it would have been a totally different experience.
Yes, I'm grateful also that I had the foresight to think of it in a positive way,
mm-hmm.
and think of it like everything's meant to be the way it is, and just to flow with it. I'm not always capable of doing that. Sometimes I get drug along kicking and screaming in life. But that was one of those times where I can look back and think, like, if I had just really gotten riled up about it and thought of it in a negative way instead of thinking of it like an adventure and an opportunity. So I'm really grateful that that she, landed up canceling. It was kismet, apparently.
Yeah.
And, I had the, relaxed nature in that moment to just flow with it and, make the most of it.
Yeah, I think that's incredible. So with your law background, what parts were easy? What parts were hard? Because for people that aren't familiar, it is a beauty product that has 5 containers that you easily put in your 5 beauty products, and it doesn't matter what they're made of, right? And their travel size, and it's beautiful. We'll direct everybody to the website where they can actually see it. But I imagine some parts were easy, like the legal stuff, but then how do I actually make this thing?
I mean, the one thing I can say is I think it was great that I was naive and unknowing, and that because I think that's actually such a gift, where a lot of people, that makes them fearful and it makes them think, well, I'm not capable of doing this. When actually, when you haven't done something before, it's actually such a refreshing, frame of mind, and a refreshing viewpoint, because you're not doing it how it's always been done. And that's what makes innovation so amazing. And so I actually think people who have never worked in certain areas are could be really great naturals. And we're super socialized not to do things that we're not trained for.
Mhm.
So I think that kind of, but even so, even though like I think that you have a fresh pair of eyes when you're coming into an industry where you have no experience, it is a bit ballsy. And but I have to say I was just so excited and I could see this vision so clearly. So that's where I kind of had the gumption to start, which I think starting is really important. Like instead of thinking or mulling over it, starting is super important. But two, I think also I did kind of start with what I knew, which was law. Even though I'm not a patent lawyer, I obviously knew that this was a super important aspect to what I was doing. And especially when you are bootstrapping and self-funding, it's like you have to have, if you can't, scale the fastest, then you're going to have to build a moat around your idea. And so at least I knew enough to do that. And that's where I started, was really with the innovation itself. And then, meeting with a patent lawyer and then figuring out the path from there.
Nice. Was that process about how you expected it? Meeting with the
I mean, I'm laughing already. No. No, I mean, I think a startup is never what you expect. I mean, life isn't what you expect, right? I mean, life isn't this linear path and, it's not even a staircase. I think it's this, it could be this spiral. I don't even know what, up and down all around type situation. And so, no, nothing I think ever went as I expected, which was both good and, maybe I perceived it at the time as not so good. But, in retrospect, what the most important thing was is that they were all learning experiences for me.
No, for sure. I think that makes a ton of sense. And the naivety, if that's the right word for it, being a benefit, just getting started and recognizing, well, I've just got to move ahead with this thing. There's never going to be a perfect time to do it. And then starting with the patent and putting a moat around the idea, because I imagine there's probably a lot of people who look at what you made and said, oh, what'd be cool if I made that too and sold it.
I think it's really important. In fact, I wrote an article for Martha Stewart talking about, or contributed to an article for Martha Stewart talking about patents. And if anyone is curious about this path, I would say Google it and read it, because even though I'm not a patent lawyer, as an inventor, I definitely have my thoughts about it. It is cost prohibitive. It's super time consuming and you have to be really patient, but there also are a lot of free or low cost resources, grants, things like that. So kind of leading into that, I think for women founders and women inventors, like the numbers are actually staggeringly low, like grouped patents. So women there's more than one person on the patent, that's at about 12% for female US inventors. And when you get to solo inventors like me, it drops down to 1%, which is just shocking. So I think, and there's so many women who are doing incredible things, and that the only thing I can do is correlate that to cost, and being financially backed, and that, really correlates with, funding numbers that we see for startups.
That's interesting. So where do you view yourself now? And for lack of a better term, use sort of Maslow's hierarchy of needs, where first thing, we just got to pay our bills and stuff like that. But then you get to a point where you're like, okay, I can actually help the earth through sustainability. And now I can actually be that guiding light or motivator for women to get this number from 1% up considerably higher.
I think the biggest message, if you look at that, is, one, like you will learn along the way. Like I had no idea that travel size, first of all, we're not getting, when you talk about sustainability, I had no idea that they were not getting recycled because of their small size. And most people don't know also that that's why New York and California have actually banned travel size. Like, so when I was learning all this, that was insane. And so spreading that message, bringing light to that subject has been really important to me. And then also, if I can do this, I feel like anyone can do it. And so just like, if I listen to other people's stories all the time, and it's really motivating to me and really helpful. And if you think, okay, here's this crazy mom, with 4 kids, she's working as a litigation attorney, and she stops watching any kind of television for a couple years and then launches a startup on the side. They think maybe I can do this, like this is possible for me. And so if I can share that message at all, like that's like tremendous.
Yeah, I couldn't agree more. We need to be able to point to people and identify with them to say, okay, wow, Kate's a person, right? I'm also a person and I have an idea. And if I work hard and I cut out things, if I make sacrifices, even if I do have a family and a job, I can still make this happen. It's still within my reach.
Yeah, and when you talk about those box of dreams, like thinking about how like we're so socialized to do one thing our whole lives. We're
Mhm.
socialized to be trained in one profession. And yes, as a lawyer, you put in a tremendous amount of effort into your education and you become very, well trained, and the experience builds upon experience. And I had so many people say, why would you throw that away? Or why would you stop doing that? And you're like, I'm not. I'm like going to the next level. I'm going to this next level of curiosity and experimentation and adventure, and I think beautiful things come from that.
Amen. Why would you throw it all away? Just that's Do you think that people say that because they care about you? They say that because they have not done something like that? It's a little bit of everything.
I think it's the socialization that, once you're something, you're to be that thing your whole life. And I also think as a woman that sometimes you get that a little bit more because it's like you were trained from a very young age to put everyone else first.
Hmm.
And so to be selfish and chase the stream and put myself first, that I think sometimes gets people's feathers a little bit ruffled, which
Yeah,
I'm okay with. I like ruffling feathers.
for sure. How are we going to get anything done without some feathers getting ruffled along the way, Kate? We're not. We're not going to change the
Yes.
world if everybody's just happy and, for goodness sakes. Awesome. Well, Kate, the people are ready for that difference making tip, even though we've already given them a lot. What do you have for them?
Well, I think like the biggest thing, I believe this so wholeheartedly, is that anything is possible. And that if you just have that mindset in life and you just keep going and and I do this myself still, but then I have to remind myself like anything is possible, because I'm sometimes no one's putting those hurdles in front of me or closing those doors except for me. And so if I can turn my mindset into that and just keep reminding myself that anything is possible, and finding those motivators, and finding those examples in the world, meeting really cool people like yourself and talking about this and going on, this journey with other people. Um, that is like my number one piece of advice. Because I think if you can't keep yourself motivated, it all stops.
Well, I think that is great stuff. That definitely gets it. Come on. Kate, thank you so much for coming on. Where can people learn more about you? Where can they learn about and buy your amazing product, Palette by Pack?
So the original high fivers on our website, as you said, Palette by Pack. And so all social is at Palette by Pack, and our website is www.palettebypack.com.
Excellent. Well, if you enjoyed this as much as I did, show Kate your appreciation and share today's show with a friend who also appreciates good ideas. Go to palettebypack.com. Is that right, Kate?
That is.
PALETTEBYPAK. And like I saw that there are 3 or 4 different options for the original high fiver, and all priced. I think it's very affordable. So definitely check it out if you are somebody who wishes that there was an easier way or better way to travel with skincare, makeup, and all of that, because it's really cool. And even if you've never felt that way, check it out too, because it's an amazing product. So thanks again, Kate.
Thank you so much.
And until next time, keep fighting the good fight. We are all in this together.